You lived an entire life before the age of 3. You were born. You opened your eyes for the first time. You heard your mother's voice. You tasted food. You took your first steps. You spoke your first word. And you remember none of it. Not a single moment. Most people assume the answer is simple. You were too young. Your brain wasn't ready. But that's not entirely true, because your baby brain wasn't incapable of forming memories. In fact, it was doing something far more extraordinary. It was building you. In 1905, Sigmund Freud gave this phenomenon a name: infantile amnesia. But babies can remember. We know this because of a remarkable experiment conducted by psychologist Carolyn Rovee Collier. She attached a ribbon from a baby's ankle to a mobile hanging above the crib. The babies quickly discovered that kicking their feet made the toys move, and they loved it. Days later, when they returned, many of them immediately started kicking again. Even 2-month-old babies could remember for days. 6-month-olds could remember for weeks. So if infants can form memories, why can't you remember being one? Part of the answer lies deep inside your brain. A small structure called the hippocampus is responsible for turning experiences into memories. It's what allows you to replay moments from your life. Birthdays, conversations, first kisses, embarrassing mistakes. But during infancy, this system is still under construction. The connections needed to preserve memories are still developing, which means many early experiences become difficult to access later in life. But that's only part of the story, because in 2014, neuroscientists Paul Franklin and Sheena Jocelyn proposed something strange. What if the very process that builds your brain also contributes to forgetting? During the first years of life, your brain produces new neurons at an incredible rate. This process is called neurogenesis, and it's essential. Without it, your brain could never become the incredibly complex machine it is today. But constant growth comes with a price. Experiments on animals revealed that high levels of neurogenesis are linked to increased forgetting. In other words, while your brain was building itself, it was constantly reorganizing the networks that stored your earliest experiences. But there's something even more fascinating. To create autobiographical memories, the kind where you are the main character, you first need a sense of self. You need to understand that experiences are happening to you. Developmental psychologists discovered that children begin recognizing themselves in mirrors at around 18 months. And interestingly, this age closely matches the earliest memories most people can recall. But there's one final piece: language. Before you learned to speak, the world existed as sounds, colors, textures, emotions, sensations. But memories need structure, and language provides that structure. Psychologist Catherine Nelson argued that words don't simply describe memories. They organize them. They turn experiences into stories, and those stories become part of who we are. Research by psychologist Chi Wong found something even more surprising. Culture itself influences how far back our memories reach. Some cultures encourage storytelling and personal narratives from an early age. Others focus less on the individual. And because of that, people's earliest memories can differ by years, which means your memory isn't shaped only by biology. It's shaped by language, by family, by culture, by the stories you were told. So what really happened to your first years? There wasn't one reason. There were many. Your brain was still developing. Its connections were changing. Your sense of self was just beginning to emerge, and language had not yet transformed experience into narrative. Every human being who has ever lived has gone through this. Everyone has a darkness at the beginning of their story, a place they can never fully return to. But maybe those years weren't lost. Maybe your brain wasn't failing. Maybe it was focused on something far more important. It was building the person you would become. And even though you can't remember those moments, they never truly disappeared, because the child you once were still lives inside the person you are today.